Hi everyone, Joe Maru here coming at you today with how to create a custom galaxy map for your Star Wars tabletop RPG game. I'd like to start out with just a quick blurb about what this project is for me. There are a couple of galaxy maps out there you can use for your online games. Some are interactive, others are a bit more stylized and prettier. I personally really like the official galaxy map released in the Force Awakens beginner game by Fantasy Flight Games. I decided that I would try to add some of the planets I use for my homebrew games to this version of the map. Planets that already existed in the fandom but didn't necessarily have a prominent enough place in the universe to be placed on this map. My goal here was to simply add these planets to the existing map so that my players could see where they were at first. However, once I'd done so, I wanted to make this a bit more interactive, so that locations my players had visited could be opened for more information pertaining specifically to them, their party, and their characters. Again, there are a number of options that I could have gone with here, but I wanted to take advantage of tools that I already had access to and familiarity with. In this case, Microsoft PowerPoint and Foundry Virtual Tabletop. So this video will have two parts. First, I'll show you how I created and placed near accurate map markers and text for the aforementioned planets using PowerPoint. Again, you can probably do a lot of what I do there with Photoshop or other programs. I just happen to know PowerPoint really well. Second, I'll show you how to use the base image to create a scene in Foundry, and then how I used the Foundry module, the add-on module Pincushion, and the built-in journal notes to create an interactive version of this map in Foundry for my players. There are a couple of ways you can recreate the map dots from this version of the map to place for new star systems. Create a new slide and copy just the original map image. Using the crop tool, select crop to shape and select the oval shape. Now crop down to a single dot on the map and cut. You should now have a single white star dot, which you can use to place on the map for a new star system. If you find you have a bit of the blackness of space at the edge of your dot, you can adjust your crop outwards and give the image soft edges in the Format tab. You can also crop your image to larger stars in the map for more prominent locations you may have inserted into your story. Alternately, you can simply insert an oval shape from the Insert tab and match the color of the dot. Again, it may be tough to match the exact size of the dot, so adjusting the size of the image and adding effects such as soft edges may allow for more precise sizing. You can also add beveling and other effects if you wish to make your points pop a bit more. However, I chose to mimic the map as closely as I could. Of course, Photoshop and GIMP can be used to do these things as well, so feel free to use whatever method you find easiest or most accessible for yourself. Once you have your dot placed, simply insert a text box next to it and set the text to the appropriate color, size, and font. I chose a light gray shade from the template options. However, you may need to make it lighter or darker depending on where on the map your star system is located. Generally, 4.5 or 5-point font is about right. I'm using Bondschrift Semi-Light Condensed as it seems to almost match the font of the map. You can repeat this process more simply by copying and pasting your dot and text box and dragging them to the new location and updating the text to match your new star system. Foundry Virtual Tabletop is a wonderful tool that I've been using for about 6 months now to run my Star Wars games. I'm not sponsored by Foundry or anything, or I'm plugging them for your use. It's just the virtual tabletop I have chosen as it suits my GM style and needs the best. Thus, I have chosen to show Foundry VTT users how they can use the map we created in the first half of the video to create an interactive galaxy map for their players. First of all, Foundry users, you don't necessarily need to be using Star Wars Fantasy Flight game system for Foundry to utilize this, as it is just a standard scene in Foundry. So if you're running Star Wars Saga Edition, 2d6, or 5e, you can simply use the same method. The only thing you will need is the pincushion module, and you'll see why in a moment. So first, start up your game and create a scene, as I have here, using the map you created. Make sure to enable the pincushion module and any dependencies before starting. As you can see, you'll need to enable libwrapper as well. Next, go to the Journal tab in Foundry and create entry for the planetary system you wish to create. I have a subfolder in my main game called Map Points of Interest to drop these into, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Now enter any text you wish to include for the planet or system. In my case, I'm simply adding a blurb or brief synopsis about what my players did on the given planet, not an entire entry on the planet itself. Usually, I will link to the Wikipedia article at the bottom for more complete information. You can also insert an image here using the file path within your Foundry folders that you use for your maps and planetary images. I also recommend linking the image in the Image tab within the entry so players can get a better look at it if they choose. Now that your entry is created, you can drag it out onto the map. Shift dragging will allow you to free drag it without any snapping. Once you do, you will be given a revamped dialog box to create your map pin. Click the Browse Files icon to the right of the entry icon box, and again, select the planetary image you wish to use from your library. You'll want to set your icon size to about 32, and don't change the tint unless you really want to. There aren't a ton of options for fonts, so I just went with what the default was. Be sure to set your font color before the size, as it may reset this option. Usually this will be solid black or white depending where your star system is located on the map. For font size, 24 is about right for lesser systems, but you can bump it up for larger ones. Last, set the text anchor in such a way that it will overlay the existing text. You can now hover over it to see what it is and double-click to view the entry. To ensure your players can see the entries, be sure to set your permissions. Here is what the final product should look like when you've added a good number of entries. You can see I've added entries for major planets that I didn't add to the map myself as well, since my players have been to those locations. Again, this is so I can include an entry about what they did there, not so I can include an entire entry on that planet. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Now you have a fully interactive galaxy map your players can look at during downtime, or during that first 30 minutes every group spends chatting, with entries specific to their party. Thank you so much for checking out the video, and give it a like if you found it helpful. I'll include a link to Foundry VTT and the starter set that this map comes in from Fantasy Flight in the description. Hopefully I'll return soon with yet another how-to video.